evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Real Chat Daddy Show. Ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to a very special Friday night edition of the Real Chat Daddy Show. These Friday night shows are entitled Love Hurts, and I am going back to my roots as a relationship expert to talk to my fans, my followers, my people about things that are most important to us when it comes to relationships. This is episode number 3 of Love Hurts. And just to give you guys a little bit of the background about this show, this is not necessarily a show about people who have been done wrong or we want to drag people through the mud, things like that. No, that's not what this is about. This is to talk about any type of hurt you have gone through in a relationship. It could have been the first time someone ever kissed you and nothing ever happened. It could have been the first time you were turned down by somebody. It could be a marriage that didn't go right. Whatever the case may be, love can and does hurt. And so we're going to talk about the positive side of how you can change the dynamic of what you're going through. All right. Tonight, we are talking about domestic violence. October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And so tonight, sitting in the co-host seat, not only, well, here's the deal. She's not even working as a co-host tonight. She's actually working as a guest this evening. And when it comes to talking about domestic violence, our good friend, media personality, audit and compliance extraordinaire, author, our girl, Miss K. Renee of Karen's Nuggets of Knowledge.com. How are you, K. Renee?
I am good, Art. Thank you for having me for your new show, and definitely to focus the awareness on domestic violence, given that October is the Domestic Violence Awareness Month.
It really is. And now more than ever, we're going to talk about how domestic violence is really on the rise. The pandemic has brought out a lot in people. And so tonight we're going to talk about how it is really affecting more people now more than ever. Kay Renee, if you could give everybody a little bit of your background on this show. We put shine on our guests because we always want them to talk and just share with people who they are and what they do.
Well, again, as Art, you did a great introduction, but only thing I can add is the fact that I am your co-host on the Real Chat Daddy Show. Been with you since June of 2020. From that, I was able to launch my own podcast, Candid Conversations with Kay, and then my other partner, Miss Kim Coleman, and hopefully we'll be back on the air real soon. As Art mentioned, I've been in the audit and compliance profession for a little bit longer than most. I am also the Chief Knowledge Officer of Karen's Nuggets of Knowledge, in which I provide wisdom and motivation to just keep it real. And I am an author, first-time author, as well as an inspirational blogger. But the reason why Art asked me to come join tonight is I'm also a survivor of domestic violence. I was married for 10 years, and during that relationship, there were some serious bumps and some bruises.
Yes. And that's what I want to talk about tonight. During Hot Topics, we're going to talk about some of the top celebrity divorces and how much these divorces ended up costing these celebrities. But you also have to realize 9 times out of 10, when domestic violence is involved, it usually ends in a divorce, a separation, an end of a relationship. So we'll talk about that later on in the show as well, too. Also joining us tonight is a dear friend of mine who is a journalist, a PR practitioner. She is the creator of the Slip Out app, and we'll talk about that when we introduce her. She's going to join us tonight, and we're going to just do hot topics, and then we're going to get into our conversation about domestic violence. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome my good friend, the one and only Miss Lisa Jenkins. Yay! Hey, is she there? Uh-oh, is that camera? Oh, okay. Is your camera on?
Yes. I don't know. I'm having technical difficulty. 1 second.
Oh no. Okay. All right.
Well, we see the
logo. Okay. Well, wait. I may have to take you out of one. Let me see. Remove you out of one and put you back.
Yeah, because on my laptop it wasn't showing up.
Yay! There we go. Yes.
Okay.
Good. How are you this evening?
I'm doing good. Was
Good.
it there?
Introduce yourself and tell everybody who you are and all of that great stuff, and then we'll get into hot topics.
I'm Lisa Jenkins. I am the creator of the Slip Out app, which is the app for victims and survivors of domestic violence.
Very good. And when did you start this app?
The app was launched in September 25th, 2020. So I say the idea came about maybe that spring.
Mm-hmm. Okay, very good. Well, ladies, I'm glad to have both of you here tonight. We always start this show off with hot topics, and the hot topics always have something to do with relationship issues. And this past week, as well as the last couple of months, we have been hearing a lot about celebrities who are breaking up and getting a divorce, from Kim Kardashian and Pete Davidson. Tia Morrow, she just announced that she and her husband, actor, is it Corey Hardwick?
Yes.
Yes, they are getting a divorce. I just read, is it Neo and his wife are splitting? So it seems as if celebrity divorces are just not working, as well as regular people who are in relationships. Things are just not working. Ladies, what do you think is the reason why everybody is throwing the towel in? I'll start with you, K. Renee, and then I'll come to you next, Lisa.
It could be folks are just probably they've grown apart. That could happen. You know, when you have children and they grow up and you become empty nesters, suddenly you realize, am I still compatible with this individual? That could happen. uh Infidelity, that definitely can happen. And also, well, while we're here tonight, domestic violence, when when you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, that also can happen. But
Mhm.
unfortunately, with the pandemic, it kind of exacerbated and accelerated. Folks are just saying, you know what, I don't know if I want to be with you anymore. So
Mhm.
it's just it happens in the normal course of life. You hope that you're able to mend fences and just be able to collaborate and just, be able to love one another, to be together. But
Mhm.
sometimes you have to make that move to say enough, because you have to love yourself enough to walk
Mhm.
away. And that
Mhm.
is, to me, I can speak from experience. Lisa and Art, that was the hardest thing for me to deal with. So
Okay, well, we're going to talk more about your experience when we get around to the domestic violence conversation. Lisa, I wanted to come to you and find out, what do you think why everybody is throwing the towel in? Everybody's moving on. I've had enough. What is that about?
I agree with Hey Renee. Also, you people just grow apart. Sometimes their goals and dreams change. Sometimes they realize they just don't like you anymore. It's just everybody goes through things like that. And I think it
Mhm.
takes a strong individual to decide that, that isn't where they want to be anymore. Even if they still love the
Mhm.
person, they could just outgrow them and just
Right.
figure out they need to be better alone.
Well, it is said that the lockdown increased the risk factor of breakups and domestic violence in multiple ways. So both of you ladies were
Absolutely.
absolutely right about, this pandemic. Just like people lost their jobs, people have died, people have had a different way of thinking. I mean, I tell people, have spent some people spent their entire pandemic by themselves alone.
Hmm.
People had to cut out, I mean, God forbid, booty calls. You had to cut all that out because you were so afraid of catching COVID.
that's right.
So, and now I think a lot of people are just very short-tempered as well, too. If you look at the lawlessness in most of these major cities, the way people are driving
Hmm.
so crazy, being so disrespectful, a lot of that I really do think is residual of the effects of the pandemic.
I agree.
I definitely agree.
Okay, ladies, I want to go on, if I could, and talk about the other situation that we were talking. I wanted to share some facts with you guys before we went on to the next situation. I thought we would have a little fun. This segment is called The Biggest payday. So I'm getting ready to talk to you ladies about 3 divorces that were huge paydays, and to see what would you do if you got this type of settlement. Okay, so now the biggest payday of all times that most people have been talking about, that most of us would remember on this show, was when NBA legend Michael Jordan back in 2006 split from his wife and former model Juanita Van Noy. May have topped the list of the most expensive celebrity divorce. Now, this was back then. I'm going to give you all 2 that are current. The Chicago Bulls star paid his ex-wife a staggering $168 million in a divorce settlement, and had to pay $2.1 million in legal fees after their 17-year marriage came to an halt. Isn't that interesting? The next one is when Steven Spielberg reportedly did his first prenuptial agreement on a napkin. Of course, couldn't find that napkin, didn't have anything in legal writing. Steven Spielberg had to pay his ex-wife a whopping $100 million to walk away as a part of the divorce settlement. Bill Gates, who is one of the richest people in the world, in 2002, he had to settle with his ex-wife for more than $112 billion. And Mr. Gates, who is a co-founder of Microsoft, his wife Melinda French Gates. She ended up getting over $6 billion in stock. Ladies, what do you think about these pricey divorces? And here's the deal. What would you do if you were getting that type of settlement?
I'll let Lisa go first.
Of course. Well, you know where my heart is. It would be, I will open as many domestic violence shelters or safe havens as I could across the U.S. And I would also make sure I had an emergency fund. So if I was, people contacting me need to, escape immediately, I could at least put them up temporarily while we figured out, other help. So it would definitely go towards domestic violence.
Oh, well, that would be generous. You really would be one of the most philanthropist giving entities ever. If that's, you get that type of settlement and that's how you're going to spend that money around. That would really look, I'm calling you now. I need help. Right. Hello. Right. Okay, Renee, what do you think about it?
Well, first, after the ink is dried and I know that money is in my account. See, I got to make sure everything, my background and audit, I'm like, okay, make sure the money is in the account, because if it ain't, something could happen.
Absolutely.
Pay all the bills. Yeah. But then, I would definitely launch a non-for-profit in my parents' name to help people see the best of themselves. Because I know what my purpose is on this planet, to help people see the magnificence within themselves. So whatever that would entail, along with, establishing businesses and helping women of color in particular, because I know, and I'm sure Lisa can attest to, as a Black woman, it's rough for a sister out here to really make it in any business, right? I would also definitely donate money to domestic violence, because I was on the board of domestic violence. As you remember, Art, I had you be our master of ceremonies for one of the domestic violence agencies here in Chicago. But, just really focus on different areas that people just need to be aware of. Mm-hmm. And then, as I said, just have a hell of an attorney and a hell of a staff, because you need that. I mean, you talked about Bill Gates, another one, Jeff Bezos, who they divorced, and Mackenzie married again and divorced her second husband again.
And they were married for 25 years.
Right.
And she walked away with $38.3 billion in Amazon stock. And Amazon is a 24 hours a day, 7 days a week machine.
That's right.
I just looked at something today and they told me they could have it here Sunday morning for me. I said, you gotta be kidding me.
Oh yeah.
So right. Yeah. So
And Mackenzie
Mhm.
married, and Mackenzie married again, and guess what happened? She divorced again. So
wow. Wow. So
to her,
okay.
to her teacher, her second husband. He wasn't worth as much as Jeff, but I'm sure
Yes.
he's gonna get something out of the deal.
Absolutely. All right. Well, very good, ladies, when it comes to that. The next thing I wanted to talk about, I've been hearing rumors that singer and actor Ray J, I guess, had been threatening to commit suicide. Kay Renee, did you read the story I sent? What were some of the details of that?
Apparently he's probably going through a mental episode, because he made a comment saying maybe I should just get rid of, the only reason why I'm not doing this because I have children. And see, when you make statements like that, people have to be concerned about your mental health. You just can't be coming out
Mhm.
of the woodwork saying, well, I'm just going to jump and kill myself. That's not the type of language you want to convey to anyone. I mean, I think
Hmm.
about I was a judge at the Miss Illinois USA pageant, and Miss USA Chrisley she jumped off
See
uh
there.
and committed suicide. I take that
Mhm.
very seriously. And so, we were talking about in the green room before we went live. I hope that Brandy and the rest of the Norwood family will be there for Ray J, because you just don't make statements like that and think that it's going to be okay, because it's not.
Hmm. Lisa, I know you've heard many cries of help from people who are domestic violence victims. What are some of the signs or things that people say when they're in trouble and they're ready to get out?
Basically, they just feel like they're gonna die if they stay. I think that's one of the most common.
Mm-hmm.
And then a lot of they've either had previous experiences in shelters, don't want to go again, or they also just feel like the person that they're abusing they're with is the best they'll get.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more on that. I really could not. Well, ladies, I want to go into our conversation, if we could, about domestic violence. I want to talk about a couple of different things tonight on the show. Uh, as I said earlier, the lockdown has increased the risk factor of divorces and domestic violence. But because we are talking about domestic violence tonight, in honor of October being Domestic Violence Awareness Month, I wanted to share some things before we get into our conversation. There are multiple ways that trigger people in domestic violence. Financial stressors is one of the reasons why. The loss of employment or unemployment, not having enough employment, the lack of not being able to have the freedom that people used to have before the pandemic. People kind of did what they needed to do. Now that we're coming out of the pandemic, we're opening up a little bit more, but you still have a lot of people who are shell shocked about what happened with the pandemic,
Mm-hmm.
still not trusting a lot of different things. Surveys say that around the world, domestic abuse has spiked since January of 2020. Over the years, it has seen new faces, new situations. At one point, people used to always think domestic violence was between two heterosexual people. Domestic violence now covers intimate partners, same sex couples. Even people who identify or non-binary. Domestic violence has really seen an uptick. It does not know economic levels. It does not know any of these type of things. Believe it or not, people who work in certain particular industries are more likely to be victims of domestic violence. Education in the restaurant industry, hospitals, retail, because people are so violent, lashing out and attacking people nowadays. That's why those careers are not as attractive anymore, because it could end up with you being in domestic violence. Lisa, did I miss anything? And what else would you like to add to that, that are some of the things that people most face in their day-to-day life when it comes to domestic violence?
I think you covered it all. People are they're tired, they're angry, they're scared, they're mad. There's so many things going on that you just don't know what the next person is dealing with, and they can just flip at the like a switch.
Wow. Okay. Well, from that, I want to get into the conversation. If you would, Kay Renee, I know you were here with us tonight to share your story of how you survived your situation. I always am so grateful because you are just always so wonderful at sharing your own personal journey. And believe it or not, sharing your journey can help a lot of people. Full disclosure, I too have been a victim of domestic violence. I necessarily do not want to talk about my situation this evening, but I did want to shine that light to let people know it's just not women; it's people of all walks of life. Kay Renee, I'm gonna give the floor to you. Go right ahead.
Thank you. Art. I can't believe it's been a while since I've had that incident, or I should say several incidences. But when I was married, before I was married and met my husband, ex-husband, he was that perfect guy, right? He was charismatic, intelligent, but there was always that side that I wondered, why does he act a certain way? And then, of course, as we developed our relationship and he disclosed that he was abused by his own father. And I'm sure, Lisa, you can attest to that people who have been abused, unfortunately, they turn out to abuse others. And so that was one red flag that I just chose to ignore. Because I said, well, this man loves me, he adores me, not to say I would change him. I never thought that, but I said, we could work it out. And when we got married, and then of course life happens, you move into an apartment, you work. He wanted to be an entrepreneur, I was the primary breadwinner. And I guess the roles, the roles of man and wife kind of switched, right? Because I was one bringing home the bacon and he was trying to build a business. And unfortunately, he was a very proud individual. And so um, that's when I started to hear just certain disparaging comments. For instance, we would go grocery shopping, and you go through. I like to go to every aisle, but when I approached the pet aisle, he would always make comments. Do you need anything? Do you need a leash? Can I get you some dog food or something like that? And I thought first time I had to look like, what did you just say? And he would continue doing that. And it was just very demeaning and disparaging. Um,
How horrible is that? Are you kidding me?
oh, I'm not kidding. And it actually, after we had separated and since divorce, it took me a while. I would never even go and grocery shopping for myself. I've been divorced almost 15 years. Literally after the divorce, it would take me some time. I wouldn't even go down that aisle because of the effects that he would say. But
Mm-hmm.
the one thing that really, uh, the one event that I really will never forget, it was in the fall of 2002. We were living downtown and he got into a very angry tirade. We were arguing and he took his hands and started choking me. And he's, very tall, very, muscular. And he kept calling me all sorts of names. He said, do you want to die? And just literally had his hands on my throat. And I talked about this in my birthday blog about grace and how God, even though in the midst of your pain, in the midst of whatever you're going through, he always grants you grace. Because as he was choking me, he said, do you want to die? And I looked at him with his eyes. I said, if you want to kill me, you go right ahead. But remember this, the moment I take my last breath and the moment my family finds out it was your hand, you're going to join me. And do you know, Lisa and Art, he stopped and walked away. Now at that point, I should have said, the hell with this man and do what I need to do, but I didn't. And here's the funny part. When I was on the board of this largest domestic violence agency in the state of Illinois, I was abused and didn't know it. they always give you the signs of what to do when you are abused. Couldn't see it. It really wasn't until, and I mean this, when my parents had their car accident in 2004, I had to drive down to Champaign-Urbana where my mom, my uncle, my father were, and he wanted to join me because he said, I'll drive. We were about to separate at that time, but he's like, you know what, Karen, I'm gonna, support you. He drives down and calls me every bitch, hoe, all this in the middle of the night on I-57. Y'all know how dark it is late at night. I said, pull this MF car over. I said, if I hear one more word, I don't care who gets you. We're done. And then he calmed down. He was like a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we get down to see my mom. I'm trying to be there for both my mother, my father, my uncle, because they're really in a very dire straits because of the accident. Again, behavior. He was playing like the Dr. Jekyll, all the nice, the compassionate. I can help you get through this. When we had to check in at a hotel, and I kept my first mind said, don't sleep with that man. I don't care what it is. You sleep on the couch, whatever. You need to sleep in the car. Don't sleep with him. What do? I said, you know what? I'm tired. I said, I won't say his name, but I said, look, I just need some sleep. In the middle of the night, apparently that's why I didn't realize I had sleep apnea. This son of a gun literally kicks me off the bed and ready to do something. I had to close the door, the bathroom door, call family. I said, y'all need to get this. He has to come. And that's when I realized, I said, enough is enough. I can't deal with this. And so again, about grace, the fact that I'm still sitting here sharing this story, I know God has been always around me and protected me. Because most people I would have been dead. And I know this.
My God.
So, I am just really grateful to God that he spared me. I'm grateful that even though I went through a lot of stuff with my former husband, it's made me who I am. And it's just, I'm very compassionate for women and men who go through, because sometimes I think of myself as a very intelligent woman, but sometimes you just don't see it. People can tell you and you just can't see it. I was one of those individuals.
Wow. Lisa, I'm sure we've heard many stories like this. You and I have talked over the years in honor of October being Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Kay Renee's story is just heart-wrenching to me in just so many ways, to know she has been through so much and how resilient she is. Let's talk about this, Lisa. Why do people continue to stay?
Most of the time we don't realize what's happening. Especially if it's not physical. If it's emotional and mental, maybe spiritual or financial, we just don't know. We know it's something we don't like and we would like it to stop, but we don't always know its abuse. Or in my case, I came from a dysfunctional home. So it seemed normal. And for a lot of people, they rather deal with the devil they know than the devil they don't know.
Yeah, I tell people all the time, I got 99 problems, but finding somebody else ain't one. So that's why when things happen, I believe in, let's handle this now. Let's nip this in the bud. Let me do what I need to do to protect myself legally, and I move on from the particular situation. I made a post earlier today about, when you forgive somebody, you really are the bigger person. And so I just, Kay Renee, what you said is right. Walking in grace, continue to be covered in mercy, and learning to be the bigger person is what it's all about. Because I could not imagine going through as many things that you've gone through, Kay Renee, and to see you have come out not smelling of smoke is just absolutely amazing. You know what I'm saying? Because all of that you've been through, there's got to be some kind of psychological damage there from that, because that is
It was.
torment, is abuse. You know, let's talk a little bit more about your situation.
It was because not only it was a combination, Lisa indicated, of everything, not just physical, not just emotional, not just financial, spiritual. Because here's the deal: we came from just the same supposedly spiritual philosophy. You know what I'm saying? So, I'll never forget. I remember Art and Lisa when I got my master's. My mother, bless her heart, who's with me in spirit, because she was very, and our parents are very intuitive. Most parents are, even though they may go through their dysfunctional stuff, they're very
Right.
intuitive because they've been there. And I'll never forget my mom when the moment I received my master's degree, she whispered in my ear, she said, "Your marriage is over. Get ready." And that was in 1998. And
Oh yeah.
that's when things started to happen. She didn't have to say anything to me because she saw it. And when I got my divorce, and I remember going to the nursing home, and I said, "Mommy," is because she couldn't speak, but she was so aware. I said, "It's done. Show her the paperwork." She raised the weakest arm and did this. I'm grateful to know that before my parents made their transition, that I got out of that situation. The one thing, if I had to do it all over again, I try to live my life without regrets. But like you are, what I should have done the moment it happened, take care of the business. But again, when it happens to you and it continues to happen, you just, as I said, I took a blind eye. I said, we can work this out, because I had great role models in my parents. Granted, they had their fights like most parents do. But at the end of the day, they loved one another. My dad never put his hand on my mom. You know what I'm saying? So I said, I have this role model in them. So I've got to make it work. But at some point, you've got to love you more. And
That's
that,
right.
if anything that I can say to anyone who's listening to us, you've got to love yourself more. And I did not love myself then. And it was evident that I did not love myself then. But I can tell
Wow.
you right now at 9:33 p.m. on October 7th, I love me some K. Renee Mason. Period.
Oh, how wonderful. Lisa, I want to come back to you if I could. And if we could talk about, Kay Renee mentioned her parents, just a lot of how, from all of the situations and people you've been dealing with, how have the children fared in all of this? That's what I'm so worried about, is children. And what advice would you give to people about their children in these domestic violence situations?
Well, I learned personally, the kids see more than we think they see. We always think, oh, they didn't see us fighting, or they don't know what's going on. They know.
Mm-hmm.
I advise getting them therapy just like you get therapy, because a lot of trauma you've had, they experience it also, just as
Mm-hmm.
the child of the parent being abused and being up
Mm-hmm.
in the abuser. So it's like they're stuck in the middle. So I
Mm-hmm.
absolutely encourage the children getting therapy,
Mm-hmm.
trauma therapy specifically.
Watika said it's worse when you got kids, and you're absolutely
Yeah.
right. That's what you were
Yep.
saying. Yeah, trauma
Hmm.
therapy is what they need to go through, correct?
Yes.
I was having dinner with a friend earlier this evening, and we was both agreed that we think everybody of color, black and brown, needs therapy needs to be a part of their health care package.
Amen to
It
that.
does.
Do you agree that? Yeah,
Oh,
I
yeah.
think that therapy needs to be a part of people's health care package. You just like you go see
Mhm.
the doctor, the dentist, you should be able to go see a therapist, somebody to help you out.
Amen to
Absolutely.
that.
Because just think about it. We all go through some kind of trauma, whether it's lose our car, our house, our job, somebody dies. That's all trauma.
That's
And
right.
then
Hmm.
add to that, if you been a victim or a witness of domestic violence, your cup is
Hmm.
overflowing with trauma.
Hmm.
And if it's
Hmm.
not addressed, it just continues to be piled on with additional drama, because we're always going to deal with something as long as we live.
Yeah. I tell people I've been fortunate enough that most of the relationships that I've had, yeah, it may have been a little scrapping every now and then, but it wasn't no kind of scrapping that it was what I consider a domestic violence situation. A domestic violence situation is punching, talking
That's right.
crazy to somebody,
That's right.
choking, all those kind of things. I mean, as you said, Kate Renee, like your mom and daddy got into it. My mom and daddy,
Yeah.
Lisa, I can't speak on behalf of your family, but you said you came from a dysfunctional background. So the thing is that we've all seen some form of shenanigans and foolery. It's
Yes.
when the shenanigans
Mhm.
and foolery starts causing bodily harm, starts causing disorientation,
That's right.
things like that is where the problem sets in. Lisa, in this app that you've created, can you please tell us why you created the app and how you created the app?
Well, I created the app because I escaped on my own. Again, I didn't know what it was really until I left and was able to put a name to what was going on. But I didn't want anybody else to have to do it by themselves. I was able to fortunately leave over 9 months, but that's not everybody else's reality. Because I worked, I had my own money, my own car, etc. So I just want to be a resource for people who have to leave on their own but have no clue how. And then I also want to be there for when the healing starts because the healing doesn't start right away.
Mm-mm.
I thought I would be fine once I moved to my new apartment. That's not the case. I started having nightmares maybe 6 months later. And then my therapist said it was I had PTSD from not being able to respond to the things that were happening in those last few months before I left. So I want to
Mhm.
help people get out, and I also want to be help them heal, or at least start the healing process.
Mhm. Right. Uh Watika made a comment, the police are better now. They used to take the side of the man, take him out for a minute, and he come back worse. Yeah,
That's
absolutely. We've seen that
right.
many times, many times. Ladies,
Mhm.
I'm curious to know, with the way relationships are today, I just know so many beautiful single women. Do you think people are afraid to go into relationships, A, because of domestic violence? B, could there really be a lack of quality men for women to be with? Kay Renee, I'm gonna start with you because you are all about the audit and compliance, darling. So, I'm wondering, does domestic violence come into that dating realm as well,
Oh
too?
heck yeah. And see now I'm in a different season as we talk about on your show, being in a different season because I ask certain questions now. Beforehand I might not have, after it took me a while to get through the pain, the humiliation, all that. I ask certain questions when if I'm talking to someone. And see, I don't have time for BS now. I think there could be some fear with single women and single men. The quality, is it there? Well, that's always a subjective question to me. Um, but I think nowadays people are starting to, if you're going to spend some time with the person, you really need to know who you're dealing with. I am not
Hmm.
afraid, and Art knows this about me. Lisa, you may not, but Art knows this. I look you up. I find out many apps to look. Once I get a name, it's like a dog on a bone. I'm gonna find out everything I need to find out, and then ask the right questions, so then I can make an informed decision of whether or not I'm gonna we're going to pursue this, or you're going to be not in the friend zone, but just in the acquaintance zone. There's a difference.
Right.
Because
Hmm.
when I say you're a friend of mine, I take that seriously. So, because at
Hmm.
this stage of my life, not to say I was asked this question, would you get married again? I said, if the Lord if he brought me the best man out there, I still be doing my due diligence and research, but it's not a priority for me at this time because, when you're going through trauma like that, it takes time to get back to self, but you want to be the better version of yourself because you don't want
Hmm.
to repeat the same triggers that caused you to be in that situation again. Because I've always
Hmm.
said, if you don't learn the lesson, guess what's going to happen? Situations will bring upon themselves until you get it. And I don't want to go
Hmm.
back to that. So I rather,
Hmm.
I don't mind being by myself.
Right.
I learned to be by myself, but I'm always open, but I'm just very just cautious now. than maybe if
Right.
I was beforehand. So
Right.
it
Right.
could be a
Okay.
combination of both, Art. I just
Yeah.
don't, think it's just fear. I think it's just, the quality. COVID has done a lot to folks, but
Absolutely.
COVID
Absolutely.
has shown people who they really are.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Cause my before I come to you, Lisa, I wanted to say real quick, ladies, my new motto post COVID: beat my ass, you gonna end up on the 10 o'clock news. That's my new motto post COVID. So anybody who think that they want to take advantage, beat my ass, you'll end up on the 10 o'clock news. How about that, Lisa? What do you think is going on with all of this now?
Definitely cautious. I don't like Kay Renee said, I don't have a tolerance for BS at all. The first their flag don't even have to be red. If it's pink or orange, I'm running. You know what I mean? Like I just don't have it. Um I'm very cautious, like she said. I'm careful where people like know where I live or what I do, things like that. You just have to be really cautious and pay attention and listen to your signs.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I could not. Ladies, I am loving this conversation. I think, this is what people really need to hear. Oh, it can never happen to me. Oh, girl, what was you doing to make him upset? Or what did you do to make, him or again, it could be same sex, whatever the case may be, or better yet, has this ever happened before? Has this ever happened before? Kay Renee, I know your ex-husband and the love you two shared and how wonderful you look together and you all were the it couple and, all of that. And, it just blows me to know that, the entire, just when you shared your backstory of domestic violence with me, I was just blown away. What do you think that we can do to encourage people to get out, Lisa? To get out, Kay Renee, to get out, Art? What can we do to encourage them to stop being in this standstill relationship? And I'm gonna start with you first, Kay Renee, and then I'm gonna let Lisa, because I want her to tell people about how to do the app.
I think, Lisa, I wish I could have met you years ago, because if I had that app, I'd have been out of that. I really would believe I would have been out of that situation. I think the one trait that abusers have, they want to isolate you. And I'm not the type of person to be isolated. I'm a very outgoing individual. And people who know me very well, they know that. They knew something was wrong when they didn't see me. And I think what it is, you have to, and it's hard to find that trust. But if you have dear sisters, if you have someone that you really can trust, you just say, hey, just look out for me. And then that person needs to look out for that individual, right? um
Mm.
I think too that's important. Hindsight is always 2020, but I also know too that I'm grateful for the experience that I had to go through, because otherwise I would not be where I am today. But I also want to for people to understand it. Yes, we all can make mistakes. We are spiritual beings having a lot of human experiences, but don't let that deter you from not showing your best self. Um, I'm grateful that I had a support system at the time. My parents were alive and they weren't tolerate. Trust me, they weren't tolerating this at all. I mean, but there are individuals who don't have that support system. And that's why I said earlier, if you have a dear friend that you can rely on, and it takes, it's a toggle, right? Because you're like, should I say anything? Should I not say anything? But sometimes you just maybe have to turn within to yourself and to that higher power. He will grant and he will guide you to where you need to be. I'm a firm believer in that. And that's why I said earlier about grace, because I know for a fact God has granted me grace. Because I'm gonna tell you both, when he put his hands on me and literally was choking, I'm even surprised that I was able to speak the words that I spoke. Because then for him to just stand up and walk away, I was like,
Right.
what did this happen like a movie? You know what I'm saying? So I
Right.
I
Yes.
think it's important not to isolate yourself, even though you feel that that no one's going to listen. Someone's going to listen to you. You'd be very surprised. You talk about, Lisa, about kids can see things that you don't see. You'd be very surprised of other people who are around you that may come to you, that angel in disguise. Never dispute a person who wants to help you. So
I couldn't agree more. Very good. Lisa, share some advice with us if you could, and then tell us what we need to do to be a part of this app.
Well, I think, well, unlike K Renee, I was isolated because I was so used to being by myself. So it wasn't a change in my behavior to be alone in my relationship. Um, it just got to a point after several years that I really started loving myself because previously I did. And then I realized that there was more to life than just like being this mother, this girlfriend, working, regular job kind of thing. So it was just like a aha moment that I just realized my life needed to be different, and I was in control of that. So I didn't have a support system. I was in it by myself and had to get out of it by myself.
Mm-hmm. Very good. So let's talk about how people can connect with the app.
So the app is The Slip Out. It's free on the Google Play and Apple Store. You can download it right now. It gives you a checklist on the steps to safely escape an abusive relationship. There's a global resources list. So whatever country you're in, you can get resources. There's affirmations. There's information about the 6 cycles of abuse. There's a 911 button. There's a for teens page because, as we know, teens deal with domestic violence also. So it's information for them, and just a wealth of information that anyone dealing with trauma can find useful.
Mm-hmm. And so far, how many people have you reached through this app?
So far, this app has been downloaded over 10,000 times in 83 countries.
Wow. That is amazing, Lisa. That really, really
It is.
Oh my
Absolutely.
God, what a blessing. Look, as they said, my little old friend that did something. Like, my little old friend that did something. Yes, she
little
did. Look,
me did it.
Right. She done did the damn thing. Look, I'm so glad we're able to laugh, even though this is a heavy topic. I am very proud of my friend. I knew Lisa when she was going through her situation. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And for her to come this far, and we can say this to each other. My little old friend done did the damn thing. She really has, and I'm so proud of you. I really am.
Thank you. You know
just
what,
incredible.
Art? You said in the past that when you knew me back then, my eyes were dark, and I always go back to that, like in my advocacy now, because now I can tell, like my eyes are definitely not dead now. But I can see, I can go back in my head and remember exactly what you were talking about. And you and no one else knew what was going through. At the time I met you, I probably didn't even know what was going on.
That's right. That's right.
But I do reference you saying it because that has always stuck with me when you told me that.
Mm-hmm.
So I always use that when I'm telling other people to pay attention to people's eyes.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yep. As I tell people all the time, I feel as if I've always had a prophetic spirit. And that I'm able to sense things. A lot of times people will tell me, oh, you go against the grain, or you need to this, you need to that. My spirit a lot of times have already told me the answer. I'm the one deliberating with the spirit. And when things turn around to what I said it was, or I thought it should be, and it is that, it just gives me so much comfort and joy knowing that, when I do say to people, listen, you feel dark. What's wrong? What's the problem? Let's try to get to the bottom of it. Even in my own personal situation, I will never say that my abuser did not truly love me and I did not truly love my abuser. I will always say it was a lap of judgment, and that's why it had to be caught at the beginning stages. It had to be caught at the beginning stages. If not, and whether we are together ever again, I want it to be caught at the beginning stages. That's how you nip that in the bud, because when you talk to people and you so-and-so 34 years old and abusing people, 50 years old and abusing people, 60 years old, all of that. Guess what? They was abusing people when they was young, or either they was someone who was abused. And that type of behavior needs to be modified as early as possible.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Amen.
What we got here, nice work. A lot of people have reached out. I'll talk to people all the time as well. Yes, you should, Watiki. You do a great job.
Amen.
Ladies, in closing, what do you want to say to the audience, to the people? You both did an outstanding job. I love and appreciate you. I'm going to start off with you first. Lisa, go right ahead and give your closing thoughts on everything.
I just want to say if you are being abused, there's help. Reach out to me, the other organizations around. There's help. Don't let a car, house, job, status, what your best friend or your cousin say. If you're being abused, get out. Don't be afraid to start your life over, some new place, country, state, whatever. Just start over
Mm-hmm.
because you deserve to live the life that you were born to live, and it's not to be abused.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I love that. I really, really do. Thank you so much, Lisa. Hold tight there. The one and only Miss K. Renee, go in with your closing thoughts tonight, if you could, please.
Well, again, thank you, Art, for having me. Lisa, it's always a pleasure to be with you. And from my personal experience, I'd say prayer does change things, and continue to have hope. And hope to me is an acronym, having optimal, practical expectations, and not. Don't be afraid, as Lisa, and I definitely can concur. Don't be afraid to start over. It's okay to start over, because when you get the lesson, God always gives you the blessing. And I am just so grateful. I can sit here to say that he has truly blessed me, and I have had to start over many times, in that unfortunate situation, but I'm the better from it. So don't
Mm-hmm.
don't give up. Hmm.
Mm-mm. All I can say, ladies, is to God be the glory for the things that He has done,
Amen.
and just always keep your wiser head on you, your wiser head. You understand me?
Mhm.
Because this
Mhm.
head and this heart will tell you everything that you need to know about whatever it is that's missing from that particular piece. Both of you are beautiful. Both of you are brave. I'm honored to call you my friends, my sisters. I am just happy you ladies were here to help me talk through this tonight. This show is all about encouraging people. That's why Love Hurts with Chat Daddy was even created.
Mhm.
Next Friday night, we'll have another conversation about something that most affects people's lives. If you have not done so yet, please subscribe to the Real Chat Daddy Show on Facebook and YouTube. It's very easy to do. Just go over there and subscribe. You can do it. You can make it happen. Thank you so much, Lisa. Thank you so much, K. Renee. K. Renee and I'll be back on Tuesday night for another edition of the Real Chat Daddy Show. Remember, the Real Chat Daddy Show is only one night a week now on Tuesday evenings. And we will be discussing some of the top news stories that have been going on. And Lisa, the Slip Out app, you guys, please download it. Not YouTube, the Apple Store and the Google Play Store,
Google.
correct?
Yes. Mhm.
Yes, very good. Watika, we appreciate you tonight. She says, great.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Kay. Good job. And
Thank you.
grace and mercy. I agree. Grace and mercy are the two best things you could ever have in your life. For more information
Mhm.
about yours truly, please, you guys, visit my website, which is therealchatdaddy.com. Therealchatdaddy.com. That's where you can find me. I love you, Kay Renee. That's so funny. You are the best, darling. My pointer. My pointer. Yes. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll have a wonderful weekend. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to Love Hurts with Chat Daddy. Domestic violence was our conversation tonight. Thank you, Tamlin. We really appreciate you. Thank
Thank you.
you. It really is. And listen, you guys, anytime you feel like you're in trouble with somebody, don't let them get to you. Get out. Do what you need to do. Nip it in the bud, baby. I ain't letting that go no further. One time, I'm gonna take you down. I'm gonna take you down. I'm too old to be wrestling you down, but I guarantee you I ain't too old to legally take you down. So just keep
Yep.
that in mind. God bless you, ladies. I love you so very much. Thank you all
Love
so
you
much for
too.
being here with us tonight.
Thank
We'll
you.
see you. Yes, we'll see you Tuesday night for another edition of the Real Chat Daddy Show. You guys be well. Have a beautiful night.
Bye.
Bye.